It's time for Agriculture, presented by Turkana Farms in Germantown, New York, a small-scale producer of heritage breed livestock and a wide array of vegetables and berries on just over 39 acres. They also produce a full array of garden vegetables, many of them heirloom varieties raised naturally, as well as an assortment of berries, including raspberries, blackberries, gooseberries, black, red, and white currants, mulberries, and elderberries. And now, here's Mark Scherzer.
Having gotten inquiring messages from my cousin Albie and my friend Steve, I think I need to report that if I don't do a weekly bulletin, as I didn't do last week, it does not mean that I'm hospitalized with COVID. I'm simply overwhelmed with other tasks. As I explained to Steve, I have to finish 24 hours of continuing legal education by May 24th in order to renew my law license, of which I've done 3.5 hours. Of the 140 boxes of stuff I moved into the house the week before last, I've unpacked only about 25. I have planting and weeding and sowing and mowing. It's spring. Sheep hooves to clip, storm windows to take down and screens to put up, and tons of office work I'm catching up on. To top it all off, I have a garage full of office-related furnishings and equipment, from chairs to bookshelves, desks to printers, scanners, and monitors. I must prepare for sale at next Saturday's town-wide Germantown yard sale. That's May 21st. A lot to do. Well, I realize that our major Western have all decreed days of rest to allow for contemplation and regeneration, a function this bulletin has served in my life. I have yet to defer another week on that rest. In place of a current reflection, I thought I'd repeat an homage I've done in past years to the merits of rhubarb, which I hope will inspire you to buy some. Enjoying spring rhubarb is a taste of bygone days. As I recall, older people like our former nonagenarian neighbor in Sag Harbor, Mrs. Thayer, always greeted our gifts of rhubarb with enthusiasm, seeing it as a spring tonic. Unfortunately, for present generations used to that illusory land of plenty that knows no season, the supermarket, rhubarb in spring may seem just too old-fashioned. Rhubarb faces an additional hurdle. Unlike almost everything else we pick in the vegetable garden, it really does need to be processed in order to be enjoyed. Biting into the tart stalks in their raw state involves a little more sourness than most folks can take. Wikipedia tells us that rhubarb is indigenous to Asia. It takes its name from Ra, the former name of the Volga River, on which shores it appears to have originated. It tells us traditional Chinese medicine uses the rhubarb roots for its strong laxative qualities. It's known that the English began eating the stalks in the 17th century, when significantly large quantities of sugar became commercially available. Rhubarb was brought to America in the 1820s through Maine and Massachusetts. It enjoys our climate, requiring at least 2 months of cold and another season of cool, wet weather. Spring is considered its prime season, and it's never been at home in the deep South or Southwest. As we discovered, come summer, rhubarb should be left with its remaining stalks. No more than half should be harvested to regenerate for the next spring. Once established, the roots seem to regenerate indefinitely. Meanwhile, I'm selling between 15 and 25 pounds a week. Why should we eat rhubarb? Possibly Mrs. Thayer was right, and it does serve as a tonic. What's more certain is that the fresh intensity of the flavor screams spring. Rhubarb goes well with creamy and sweet things like strawberries, cream, and custard. There's a fabulous rhubarb custard pie readily available online. It freezes beautifully. It has high in dietary fiber, antioxidants, and vitamin C. It can serve as a digestive. And according to Dr. Wikipedia, regular consumption of fresh rhubarb helps lower blood pressure. My principal bed of rhubarb takes a decorative place of honor in the center of the vegetable garden. I use it for compote that can be added to my morning yogurt, as well as pies and crisps and chutney. I've made rhubarb simple syrup using a cup and a half of rhubarb, roughly chopped, combined with a cup of sugar and a cup and a half of water. Just bring them to a boil in a saucepan, simmer for 15 minutes, and then until the rhubarb is bright pink. And then you just remove it from the heat, strain it into a jar, and use it as necessary for things like rhubarbaritas, which is a margarita in which the alcohol is citron vodka rather than tequila, and the rhubarb simple syrup replaces the triple sec. It's also worth considering rhubarb as an ingredient in many more savory dishes. Last week, I experimented with spectacular success on my no-nonsense friend Tom, who claims to be a meat and potatoes guy with not much taste for such exotica as rhubarb. Yet he enthusiastically devoured lamb shanks braised with Middle Eastern spices and rhubarb, an easy, though long simmering recipe I found online. It was such a hit that tonight I plan to repeat the act with Eric, who I'm sure will similarly love what Tom went for so avidly. If you want to partake in this wonderful taste, come and get you some of those tangy stalks and go for it.
Agriculture is underwritten by Turkana Farms, LLC, a small-scale producer of heritage-bred livestock and a wide array of vegetables and berries on just over 39 acres in Germantown, New York. More information, 518-537-3815.